Hey everyone, SoundPEATS has come at you with their 30th earbud they currently have for sale, the new Engine 4, retailing at $59 US. Now I briefly talked about this bud in my SoundPEATS ranked video, where I compared all of SoundPEATS earbuds, all 30 of them. Check that video out here if you're daring enough. But now we're gonna go in depth on arguably their best sounding earbud they've ever released. It's also their first true wireless earbud with multi-point connection, but they don't have noise cancelling. The buds do have over 12 hours of battery life. You get dual drivers, but the mic quality isn't the best. So it's a bit of a hit and miss. I'll also compare them to SoundPEATS' best earbuds, as well as the best earbuds at a similar price from other brands. So let's get into it, starting with the fit. This is the first hit and miss. Now the comfort here, despite the bud being a little bit larger than average, very solid. It's a moderately deep fit. There is the slightest amount of pressure, so you're not getting like an AirPods Pro-like fit, but overall pretty comfortable. To get a good seal though, it's a little bit tricky. So I had to use larger ear tips than I normally use, because if I use the stock ear tips, which seem to be a medium, I wouldn't get a good seal, and I was getting not too much out of the sound, mainly with the bass. And this could just be my ears, but this would also link in with how the earbuds are designed. If I just like shrug my eyes up, the earbuds move out of place slightly, affecting the seal, which also does affect the sound quality. So when it comes to using these earbuds in my training test, if I'm like doing some weight training, getting into some weird squished face positions, clenching my jaw through those hard sets and heavy exercises, the buds move around a lot. This affects the sound quality, and it also moves them out of place. So I'm having to readjust quite often to get a good seal again. And when it comes to running as well, I definitely wouldn't recommend these. The buds move up and down a lot, and the way that they seal, I hear a lot of my own breathing and body-borne noise, like footsteps I make on the ground. It's quite loud. Not running certified, but if you do like using your earbuds when training, there's no IPX rating on these. So I don't know if SoundPEATS just haven't added it in on the box or the manual or on the website. I couldn't find anything. This is the first bud in a while that doesn't have an IPX rating, so not too sure why. But moving on to something a little bit better, we're going to talk about battery life now. You're getting an advertised 12.5 hours from the earbuds, 42 hours in total with the pretty compact case, which is nice to see. Now in my test at 70% volume on an iPhone XS, I got 10 hours and 36 minutes. That's when the right earbud died. Then at 11 hours and 1 minute, the left earbud died. So pretty close there. Very solid battery life. You aren't getting wireless charging and no fast charging still from any SoundPEATS earbud. Also don't know why there's no fast charge. But the case itself, it's pretty compact. It's slightly chunky, but easily pocketable. Nice durable gloss finish. Doesn't feel incredibly premium, but for the price, it's completely fine. And it just has the one colored LED on the inside of the case, which will flash yellow, green, or red, so you know when to charge your case up. Now with the controls, this is usually what you get with SoundPEATS. You can control everything, including volume up and down, skipping tracks, play, pause, voice assistant, and activating game mode. There is no in-ear detection, also no customization in the SoundPEATS app. All that you can do in there is turn the game mode on or disable the single tap. Connectivity, these have Bluetooth 5.3, SBC, AAC, and LDAC, which is what every SoundPEATS earbud that's been released now seems to have, which is nice if you're going to utilize that on an Android device. Expect a couple of a % increase in sound quality. It's honestly not a huge difference, but there if you need. Now I did read a few reviews of the Engine 4, and I saw one review that talked about connectivity issues and dropouts with Android. Some people said it was from the LDAC codec. I tested these on an iPhone 12 Pro, Samsung Galaxy S10e with AAC as well as LDAC. I noticed no connectivity issues. So don't know if that was a faulty pair, but my pair is completely fine. Like all previous SoundPEATS releases as well, these have single earbud use, so you can use one earbud while you leave the other in the case. And when you are using just the one earbud, it does work in mono mode. So if you're using just the left earbud, you're gonna hear the left and right audio channels, not just the left audio channel. So you won't miss anything with what you're listening to. And the multi-point connection on these buds works as well as most multi-point connection earbuds that I've tested. You can connect two devices at the same time. I tested it with my iPhone 12 Pro, Galaxy S10e, and MacBook Pro, just kind of cycled connecting two at a time. And I also tested the S10e with LDAC on, switching to the iPhone, which uses AAC, and I had no issues with that. All you need to do is pause your playback on one device before you resume it on the other device, and it usually takes about 5 seconds for the audio to kick in. Sometimes 10 seconds, but roughly around 5. Like I said as well, you can activate the low latency gaming mode with a triple tap on the left earbud or in the app. And these advertise 70 milliseconds, which all earbuds advertise a super low amount. It's never true. It doesn't take into account transferring the data to the phone and then playing whatever game. So in my latency test on iOS and Android, here's what I got. The lowest I've ever tested is around 160 milliseconds. As long as you're below 200 milliseconds, that's great for fast reaction games like shooters. Casual games, as long as you're below 400 milliseconds, you're all good. Now we're gonna run through another issue I already mentioned, the call quality. I'm gonna compare it to some other SoundPEATS earbuds so you can see how it compares. Here you go. All right, so here I am currently recording the audio of my iPhone 12 Pro. All right, so here is the call quality of the SoundPEATS Air 3 Deluxe HS. All right, so here is the call quality of the SoundPEATS Capsule 3 Pro. All right, so here is call quality of the new Engine 4. Testing, 1, 2, and 3. All right, before we talk about what's most important, sound quality, if you are enjoying the video, please chuck a like down there because it really does help the video out. Now, you're probably gonna hope the sound quality makes up for the slight lackluster features. There's some good, there's some bad, but thankfully the sound quality is their standout feature. And this is one of SoundPEATS' more unique tunings. So you get punchy bass, it hits deep. It's definitely not a balanced bass response, but it's definitely not over the top or bloated or muddy because the mid bass is a standout. Some buds will be tuned with a bit more sub bass and less mid bass so it doesn't get too bloated or muddy. But here you get a tasteful amount of mid bass. So things like bass guitars, the low end from acoustic guitars, even the low end from vocals, and especially the distorted guitars in metal, double kicks. The mid bass really shines through. It's a very well-tuned bass response if you like a bass boosted tuning while not getting too over the top. I like over-the-top bass and balanced bass, and I really do like the way it's tuned here. The mid-range is another standout. It's a smooth, natural mid-range where vocals are at the forefront. They never sound too forced or too in your face, but you get some really nice instrument separation and detail with instrumentation overall. The soundstage is another standout. I usually don't notice soundstage too much with true wireless earbuds, but here, like, I could definitely notice a more open and wide sound. I'm not talking like massive, like this is true wireless standard soundstage. You're not going to be getting like open back headphone soundstage here. So like this, not like that, but still good. My only complaint with the sound is the treble being dialed back a little bit too much for my liking. It still has some nice sparkle, but it just sounds a little bit soft, but you can jump in the EQ. The EQ itself and the SoundPEATS app is super dodgy, needs a lot of updating, at least on iOS. I know the Android app is a little bit better, but I do boost the treble in there, save that setting. Sometimes it'll just switch back to classic, even though the actual sound that I'm hearing is a custom EQ. But anyway, a slight bump up in the treble makes a huge difference. Like I always say, you can only EQ the buds so much. So if I boost the treble past what I have here, it starts sounding a bit weird. You lose bass and you lose the nice sound that it has. Now, taking all this into account, even though the treble is slightly dialed back, you get great bass, great instrument separation, solid mid-range, and a nice open soundstage. And to be honest, when I first listened to these earbuds, I wasn't a huge fan of the tuning. Do keep in mind, this is when I was testing all of SoundPEATS earbuds, 30 earbuds, so my brain was pretty fried. And I did say in the video, I preferred the sound of the H1 and the H2, and I put the Engine 4 in the third spot. Overall sound quality. Reevaluating, once my brain recovered from making that video, I can now say that Engine 4 are my favorite sounding SoundPEATS earbud. It's not a very direct in-your-face tuning since that treble is dialed back. Combine everything, it's just a very well-refined bass boosted tuning. But to explain the sound further, let's run through all the comparisons now. First, I'm going to compare to all of SoundPEATS noise cancelling offerings. This is an easy one. The Engine 4 are miles better sounding than all their noise cancelling earbuds. The Opera 3 and 5 come the closest, but the Engine 4 still easily better. The next closest contenders from other brands are the Edifier W240TN and Soundcore Space A40. Now the Engine 4 easily beats the A40 when it comes to sound quality, but you do get way more features on the A40, better fit, some of the strongest noise cancelling, and way better app support. The Edifier 240 comes a bit closer to the sound quality of the Engine 4. The 240 have a slightly brighter tuning, but soundstage is much better on the Engine and you get a much fuller bass response. Again, all these earbuds have noise cancelling, transparency, extra features, so not a completely fair comparison, but a fairer comparison I would say is looking at previous SoundPEATS releases, the H1 and the H2, because they don't have noise cancelling or transparency, so a similar type of bud to the Engine 4. Starting with the H2, these have a slightly more balanced, more boosting in the treble. They have nice sub bass, but they are lacking in the mid bass and with soundstage. So the H2 come across with a more direct sound, but I find the Engine 4 has a fuller, richer sound compared to the H2, and the open soundstage is much better. The H1 have a more bass boosted tuning when it comes to sub bass, a similar amount of mid bass, which gets a little bit boomy, a little bit over the top, so not as tight and punchy as the Engine 4. The treble is also more forward and gives the H1 a more direct in your face kind of tuning, which you may prefer. I did say in my SoundPEATS ranked video, I liked the H1 better, but I've changed my mind. My preferences change over time. But like I said, coming into this review with a clear mind, I really have started to appreciate the Engine 4 for what they bring when it comes to pure sound quality. The flaws are there, so keep the flaws in mind. At the price these are at though, if it's pure sound quality you're looking for, these are gonna be pretty hard to beat. Now, if you are a daring person, be sure to watch this video. It's my SoundPEATS ranked video where I compared all SoundPEATS earbuds in the one video. So check it out. In the meantime, stay picky. I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.